Okay, today I want to tie a gold-ribbed hare's ear fly. It's a very old pattern and it's certainly one I recommend wholeheartedly. It won't impress you. It doesn't look much of a fly, but it certainly is a most killing pattern. It's almost certainly taken for an emerger. What I mean by that is it's a nymph or a fly emerging from the nymph with the skin bursting, and the gold rib in it is like showing through the skin bursting in segments. It's always fished in the surface film, and if you do apply floatant, and you should do on most flies, all dry flies I mean, because this is like a dry fly but it's an emerger. It's low in the surface film. Just put the floatant along the back. I tend to have a little bit of a hackle showing up on the top here, and when I say a hackle, it's not a feather hackle. This is, in theory, the true pattern says prick out the body hair's fur to give the hackle. There are variants of it. There's one with a bead on as a nymph, and even with wings, but I don't think any of them are as deadly as the original. As I say, this bit of hackle on top, I don't mind that at all, because one disadvantage is it's not an easy fly to spot. It'll catch fish anywhere, especially on our waters, but also on almost any mountain or small stream. I can't praise it enough, to be quite honest with you, and it is a very, very good fly. Okay, I'm going to use a brown silk for this to start. It's quite an easy fly to tie, and if you any newcomer mastered this fly, you wouldn't need to buy any expensive feather hackles or anything, just a gold braid and the silk and and a hare's mask. Okay, now I'm going to start 3 forward, 1, 2, 3, and then the 3 back, which is what I always do. This secures our silk. I'm going to give it 1 or 2 more because I'm going to give this area a little bit of attention in a moment. Now, I said to you earlier that the hackle is the fur pricked out with a dubbing needle. But what I like to do, is I put on a bunch of the hare's fur facing forward like this to give it the hackle. And the only way I can explain this is like a sort of inside out umbrella. I'll trim that a little bit, and I do it this way, which is not the traditional tie-in way of this fly, but this is what I find is the best way of putting on this type of hackle. To call it a hackle in a way is misleading, but it is a hackle after all. Now, can you see how that is like an inside out umbrella there? That part of the fly. That's now I'm going to secure that pretty well, and then I'm going to try to bring my silk to the front to get these to stand up a bit. So I'm pushing these back when my silk should now come through, and I'm tying in front. I'm trying to clean up a little bit in the front here, where I will be forming the head a bit later, like that. But these windings also help the hackle to stand out a bit. Now, it's a scruffy looking fly. Don't think you'll be very impressed with it, and you may not want to bother with it. You may think, well, there's nothing You don't like it, but take it from me, this is a classic. This is a classic fly, and you would be well advised to go with it and try it on the waters. I'm going to try to spread the hackle around a little bit. You mainly just like that. Okay, now I'm going to put on a bit of a tail. Don't want it too long, but we do need a tail. Some people say the tail on this fly gives the impression of the nymph standing on the nymphal skin as it's trying to disentangle itself from the shuck. So the tail is an important part of it. Right, so that's that secured. There's the tail, there's the hackle, and we got a bit of body material sticking up here. I'll just remove that, just to hopefully make things look a bit clearer to you. Okay, now we tie in the rib. The name of the fly is a gold-ribbed hare's ear. The gold rib now goes on like this. Tie it nice and firm, and I will go back down to the bend, ready to put on the dubbin, which again is hare's ear. Now the dubbin will be quite chunky to give a buggy appearance to the fly. I've added a touch more silk there to take the dubbin material. Okay, here we go. The dubbing material is again hare's ear. So I'll just space that out along the silk, and I'm going to put on a little at a time. Just before I do, I'm going to put a touch of varnish on the shank over that silk just to help things to stick down a bit. Okay, first wind or two of the varnish of the dubbing like this. That's one lot. I like to put on the dubbing a bit at a time. I could sort of see where I'm going with it. But this is one scruffy fly that is very, very underrated. You don't see much of it today, as I say. But by God, it is a classic. And that's the body. I'm now going to rib it, and generally you would rib the opposite way with a fur body, but with this fly I'm going to rib it the same way because I want the ribbing to cut down in to the windings of the body. So it's like as if the shuck has got segments, and when they burst apart, it's as if light comes through, and that's what this rib is intended to represent. But the rib also does hold the body a bit. You see these lumpy segments that are coming up? That's what I'm trying to obtain. Now I've got to there, I'm going to tie off this bit of gold rib. Lost it a bit. There it is, I've got it, okay. That's it. I'll nip that off. And I will now bring the silk back to the front, to the head, to tidy up, form the head, to finish off the fly. I'm winding up tight to the hackle to push it back a bit. And I'm going to put a whip finish on it as carefully as I can. 3 winds are enough. And I draw it up like that. Cut the silk, usual procedure, gape and push. Now, that's how it's supposed to look. Just like that. Very underrated. You don't see it around very much. I would urge you to try it. I'm going to varnish the head in a moment and ensure the eye is clear, but I want to show you that. Now, the original pattern would not apply this hackle the way I've applied it. The original hackle would tell you, the original tie, and if you read one of the classic books, would tell you to get a dubbing needle and pick out the body fur to rough it up a bit, and that forms the hackle. Prick it out from the thorax area, sort of like that. Don't worry about this fly looking scruffy. You give it a try, and I think you'll be impressed with it. That's really all I can say. It's a very, very good fly, and I do recommend it. So I thank you for watching that